consulted the CFTC. And I have to tell you, there's some really smart people there, but their hands are tied. The SEC's hands are tied. And it's only in this new administration that they're trying to untie them so that they can do the right thing. T7X is going to be the right thing. T7X is going to be the model for how things should be done. That's what's exciting. Now, to put it into perspective, when I think about trust, there's something that came to my mind, because Matt told me yesterday that I had to speak, right? So, and I've been talking all day to all of you, and it's been lovely, and I'm already losing my voice. So in 2009, I had the honor to be part of a congressional report on a little thing called Bernie Madoff. You probably don't know who he is. And apart from our government, Bernie Madoff ran the largest Ponzi scheme in the world, right? Okay, so why was I a part of that program or that congressional report? In 1998, I was working for AXA, and I had a couple of different hats that I had to wear. One hat was allocating roughly $2 billion to hedge funds for the AXA insurance companies. We had an opportunity to meet with Bernie Madoff. Yay high. We went to the famous, for those that know, the Lipstick Building, where his offices were in New York City. And we come into a conference room, and there he is sitting at the end of the table. And we sat down, and we were hearing about his hedge fund. And his hedge fund did some very simple things. According to Madoff Securities was the largest trader of listed securities on all of the exchanges. And their traders, once or twice a month, said, hey, the market's going to start taking off. Let's buy a pool of stocks. And what we're going to do is we're going to collar that risk by selling calls and buying puts. All right? And if I'm talking about something that you don't understand, we can discuss it later. Well, here's the problem for Bernie. I know options. I know derivatives. I had been, up to that point, a very large derivative trader for all the big banks. So I said, well, that's interesting. At the time, he had supposedly something like $7 or $8 billion in this strategy. And I said, okay, well, Mr. Madoff, who do you trade with? And he said, oh, we trade with all the Wall Street firms, but we clear on the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. My heart fluttered because I was a trader on the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. Well, wouldn't you know, then I said, how is that possible? I said, there's not enough volume on that exchange for you to trade those options. And he said, Mr. Seaman, you don't understand how the exchanges work. I said, Mr. Madoff, I wrote the rules for that exchange. Long story short, a couple of years later, during an SEC audit of my firm, I was asked if there were hedge funds that they should worry about. And I was an early whistleblower about Madoff. Why didn't the SEC actually act on it? Too busy, cocktail party that weekend. A lot of it had to do with the fact that Bernie Madoff was also so senior that he was the chair of the NASDAQ Rules Committee. He was a hitter. They wouldn't question it. So the point I'm trying to make is this, and we'll fast forward. You have a fund that was $60 billion in size. You had supposed auditors of that fund that were auditing on falsified trading records that were produced by Bernie Madoff's firm. You had people who thought it was the greatest investment in the world, and it turned out to be a complete farce, right? And the amazing thing is, in 2008, at the end of 2008, in December of that year, at the height of the credit crisis, a little news story comes across Bloomberg. FBI raids the offices of Bernie Madoff. I said, it's finally happened. It finally happened. They figured it out. All right? Turns out they figured out something was going on. They didn't know the full story. The fun part was, at that time, one of my best friend's sisters was the executive producer for certain shows on CNBC. So I call her up and I go, Ellen, it's Barry. I said, they've arrested Bernie Madoff. And she said, who? Who is Bernie Madoff? I said, Ellen, I think you want to go back to the office. She's like, yeah, maybe. Several days later, she calls me up and she goes, you know something that we don't know. I said, yeah, I think so. This is going to be big. And so one of my other jobs was helping CNBC do all the stories around Bernie Madoff and what was actually going on, which is pretty crazy. The SEC called me. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm going on.
No.
But this is the funniest part. My wife calls me at work and she says, Barry, there is a phone message from a John so-and-so, lead investigator of the SEC, asking for you. What did you do? And I said, I think I know why they're calling. Because several years earlier, we had disclosed exactly what we thought was wrong with what was going on there. So the point I'm trying to make is this. It's a great story. It's a true story. It's a crazy story. But in this world, there is so much room for fraud. There is so much room for lack of integrity. You want to be part of the most trusted platform. You want to be part of something that's going to change the paradigm for how investments are made. And to me, that's what T7X represents, and that's what the trusted coin represents. Because the two of those together create a mechanism where assets can be financed in a way that changes everything, where I believe ultimately the SEC will be asking us how to do things.
Asking him.
Yeah!
There we go.